right, man. So I'm super excited to see what you thought about this album.
Oh, you're just jumping right into it, huh?
I mean, I don't know. We don't have anything else to talk about.
I was about to ask
That's
you
why
how
we're
you've
here.
been, but whatever.
I don't really care to tell you, and I don't care to know how your day has
Yeah,
been.
no shit.
Well, I've been fine. I actually.
Yeah, great. Now I care.
You'll care now after I tell you that I am volunteering at the local San Marcos Animal Shelter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just did my volunteer orientation. They showed us around. They taught me how to do 2 things, and now I'm in it. I'm in the shit.
Dude, that's awesome. So you're looking. You said you're volunteering.
Yes, and so there. It's just, all the grub work, like cleaning the kennels and washing the dishes and doing laundry,
Eating the dirt.
Classic
grub stuff.
Scooping up the poop with your bare hands because they don't want you to get the gear dirty, like stuff like that.
Trying not to get eaten by a small lion and his groundhog and warthog friend.
Yes. It's a very diverse animal shelter.
Yeah, well, that's fun.
Most only have like dogs and cats, but this one, it's like a zoo.
Yeah, this one has warthogs and lions.
Yeah.
Man, that sounds awesome. That's something that I've always wanted to do, is like work at an animal shelter. Despite the horrible things that you might have to do, which I doubt you will have to do it as a volunteer. But I mean, every kid wants to be a veterinarian until you realize that you have to put an animal down at some point in your career.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really good with like gore and stuff.
Sure.
So there's that, as well as my crippling fear of syringes and needles.
Syringes and needles.
Syringes specifically are the worst. Just due to, I don't know, when I was a kid I did not like them, and I still don't like them.
And thank God you didn't pick up a heroin habit, or that you weren't into.
I cite that as the main reason I haven't.
Yeah. I would love to try heroin if it wasn't for the needles.
I mean, if only I could snort it or like put it on my tongue.
Oh, dude, I'm pretty sure you can freebase it.
What is freebase?
I think that's just like using a piece of aluminum foil and lighting it on fire through the foil, or maybe you're vaporizing it at that point, which makes it way healthier. If you vaporize heroin, it'd be hard for me to tell you not to do it.
As we like to look, we have a very hard pro all drug stance on this podcast.
Yeah, me and Brett are making our way towards Oregon, so we can just really dive in head first and see how low.
People don't seem to understand that when we're going like legalize it, we don't just mean like weed, we mean like everything.
Yeah, mostly heron.
Seth.
Yeah, the black tar variety is what I seem to gravitate towards more.
Yeah, sure. I mean, everyone has their preference. I prefer the green goop type.
The green goop. Oh, of heroin? The green goop heroin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The green groups.
Yeah, you call it the Ninja Turtle.
Strain.
The Ninja Turtle mix.
Yeah. They call those vaporized Raphaels.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I know the secret of the ooze. I just figured it out, man. And then you look at your arm and you're like, needles.
Yeah, and then I run away and I jump out the window.
And that's what makes you quit.
Like usual. Yeah. Man, and I've been wanting to donate plasma.
To the animal shelter?
There's a place. Yeah, to the animal shelter.
That's nice.
They're trying to make a human over there, and so I'm trying to donate my parts.
That's nice of you.
But yeah, I want to donate plasma just because it's like they give you like $100 every time you do it. But I just you have to spend like 45 minutes with like an IV in your arm, just like taking your blood and putting it back in, and it's like
it's
it's not something I can handle.
Is that how Is that how plasma donation goes? They separate it from your blood right there with you, and then they transfuse the blood back into you.
Yeah, it's a much more elaborate and involved process than just donating blood.
I had no idea.
My roommate has been doing it. She had to go through like a 2-hour screening and
Wow.
like a full physical and like paperwork, and then you get in this machine and you just sit there for 45 minutes while the thing's in your arm, as well as like a pressure thing, like a pressure band on your arm.
Sure.
And
well, that makes your veins
so
pop up. Like we've said, you need to get a tattoo of a vein on your arm because
because no one can find my veins. And it takes your blood, it filters out the plasma from the blood, and then it puts the blood back into your arm.
Wow, all that happens at once. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's a long process, but they give you some good money for it. For some reason, them putting the blood back in makes it worse for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, you must have a problem with syringes, there too, like needles there. So, like, how do you fucking deal with that?
Yeah, I don't. I just I thought about it seriously for a while, and I have decided that I would probably rather die than do that.
Than donate plasma.
Yes.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about you, isn't it, Brett?
You know what? You're right, Lucas. It's my album this week. My
Yep.
friend's birthday, my very close friend's birthday was yesterday.
Oh, is that why you guys went to the city?
Yes, we checked out Waterloo and Uncommon Objects.
Yeah, we got some money for our band's CD sales, apparently. Our old band.
Mortales. It was September 12th was when we submitted like 30 copies of Death Rattle Valley or whatever. And
I'll never
over the
forget.
2 years, we have sold 13 copies.
Celebrate good times. Come on.
So we're big time now, baby. You got to move back to Austin. We got a tour.
I still, in my heart of hearts, in the deep in the pit of my stomach and in the back of my head, truly, honestly, kind of expect for one of our albums to blow up in like 15 years. Someone just finds it and they go, "Whoa, these guys were doing this shit back in 2020."
Oh,
when
man.
now Mortalis walked, so fucking whoever can run 20 years from now.
Lucas, do you have enough lube over there for all this jerking off?
Oh man, all this ego stroking I'm doing.
Yeah.
No, I am tapped. I'm bone dry.
You're just raw dogging it.
Yeah,
Huh?
dude, it's starting to hurt.
I mean, I don't know. I'm proud of our albums. I think
I
Death
really
Rattle
am.
Valley is one of the better things that I'm involved with.
Yeah, man, me too. Definitely.
And so I think it'd be cool. I'm not expecting anything.
No, I am. I'm fully,
well,
for some reason.
you're doing the expecting for both of us.
I do have a big enough ego that I feel like we were ahead of our time. Which I feel like a lot of shitty bands say.
People are gonna find us. They're Mortales. They're gonna come to this podcast and they're gonna hear you say that and be like, "Ew, never mind."
Yeah, I know.
These guys are jerks.
I'm not helping myself or us by saying this.
You're not helping our publicity.
Yeah, but it's I got to be true to myself. I got to speak my truth.
Yeah.
I'm just living my truth, Brett.
And that's all we really can do, isn't it? It's just live in our truth,
Man.
and get drowned by it and suffocate in it.
Suffocate in our own truth. And speaking of living in my truth, I lived in this album every single time I listened to it, so I want to get into it.
Yes, baby. Let's go. What's up, buddies? Welcome
What's up?
to the Earbuds podcast, where two very good friends talk about very good albums for a very good amount of time. I, as always, am your one of two co-hosts, Brett, Bright Light Hanrahan. Joined with me, as always, my partner, my podcast partner, arm in arm, hand in hand, finger interlaced with finger. We got Lucas, Social Hour in Drakovs. Here's the thing, Lucas.
Yeah.
We've always thought ourselves as the odd couple of podcasts.
Since day one, baby.
I don't think anyone can refute that.
No.
But the pod couple of oddcasts is something I've been hearing. I don't know about it, if I'm being honest.
I don't know.
I feel like people are getting a little too crazy with our concepts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I think people are taking this show a little too literally at this point.
Yeah.
You know, this is a parody show. We're making fun of music critics.
None of these albums exist.
None of these opinions exist. We literally look up reviews and write the opposite of them.
Yeah. It's like we just take out all the nouns and explaining.
Yeah.
Words.
People are doing a lot of world building around this podcast, and it's starting to leak into my actual real world, where like Christina is starting to call me, hey, pod couple, I mean, Lucas. And I'll just...
Well, yeah, it's getting out of hand.
It's getting a little out of hand. I mean, yeah. There was a private moment that me and Christina had the other day that she called me an oddcast. And...
Wow, right to your face,
yeah.
huh? Wow. You couldn't even have the decency to say it behind your back.
Anyway. So, this week.
I brought on this podcast from a band. Loyal listeners of this podcast might might recognize. It's the Bright Light Social Hour with their album Space is Still the Place.
This might be the first comeback artist, right? Like we haven't done 2 albums by any artist yet up until this point.
No, I think you have like 3 Thrice albums on your albums you want to listen to, but we haven't gotten to those yet.
There's 2 Action Bronsons. There's like at least 1 or 2 more King Gizzard records that we've put on the list. Like, but this is the first band to make a comeback on this show.
And we're doing it in sequential order.
What do you mean by that?
We listened to the first album like half a year ago or whatever.
Yes.
And now we're listening to their second album. And it's so different from the first.
So different.
But I think for the better.
Man, you brought another fucking goodie to the table for this episode.
Yes.
Just to give you a sneak peek of what I thought of this record.
I thought you would enjoy this one, man.
Dude, there's something... It's so funny because I've heard of this band for a long time. Like, you know, growing up near Austin, living in Austin for the last, 10 years of my life or whatever. There was something... Like, this band was floating around all the time. And I was hearing their name all the time. But it reminded me, every time I heard Bright Light Social Hour, and I know I said this on the last episode we talked about their first record, but I always thought of Broken Social Scene. And
You're just kind of getting them mixed up.
I would always get them mixed up. So anytime I heard Bright Light Social Hour, my brain went Broken Social Scene. Almost like anytime I want to say the word quinoa, I always say couscous. I literally can't fucking help it. So every time I heard this band's name, my mind went to another band that I didn't like, or that I already knew I didn't enjoy. So I never checked them out. And when you suggested their other album for the, I think it was episode like number 5 or something.
It was early on.
Yeah, I was very concerned because in my head I thought these guys were to sound completely different, and I loved that first record. And then this one, dude, is, like you said, you said it's just very different from their first record, but I also think it is a huge step up.
For sure. I mean, it's not like... This album is very... It leans a lot more into the psychedelic stuff they were doing on the first album.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
They still
got that blues stuff. You
Yeah,
know,
they still have blues stuff. They still have some dancey stuff, especially like with the bass and the drums.
for sure. But when you think about their first record, which was called, was it self-titled?
It was the self-titled.
When you think about that record versus this one, that first one, like you could tell they were trying to do a lot of different things on one record, where this one feels a lot more, even though this one does like span a lot of different styles. On that first one, you could tell there was a lot more like soul and funk influence, right? Like the rhubarb jam, and like bare hands, bare feet. Like there was a certain vibe on that record that I think they elevated it a little bit on this record, where they were going more for the psychedelic 70s thing. But dude, they mix in like, it's so psychedelic. But I love that. So the concept of the record is supposed to be like Afrofuturism and progressivism and all this kind of, basically I think what Afrofuturism means, which I should probably look it up. But my idea of what that is like almost like a future where Africa is the center of culture and like technology and all this stuff. So it's a cultural aesthetic and a philosophy that explores the developing intersection between like Africa with technology. So it's talking about like it's really, really cool, really trippy. Like even going to the Wikipedia page, like I would check that out if I were you. Like it's a cool concept and a cool, definitely very cool vibe and aesthetic. So what I dig about this album is that like when I saw that it had something about Afrofuturism, which totally makes sense because they mix in like not just like psych and blues, but it's like soul music, but then also dance music and techno music and house music, but then also like Afro-Latin, like Caribbean stuff with the drums and the bass. So it's a really eclectic mix, but it all like kind of boils down to like Southern rock and classic rock of the 70s.
Yeah. I'd say that's a pretty accurate synopsis.
It's really, I mean, I'm gonna start playing it right now because I want to listen to it while we're talking about this.
Yeah. Well, it kind of starts with a little bit of a more African drum beat right in the first song with the
yeah, and Sweet Madeline, the opening track, was the first one that I had heard. I had heard this song like a year and a half ago and didn't even put it together. Bright Light Social on a Broken Social Scene. It just came up on like a Discover Weekly playlist, and I loved it. And it hit me like listening to this record again when you suggested it. I was like, holy shit, I've known this song for a long time and love this song. But yeah, dude, Sweet Madeline's a slow burn. It's a really cool opener.
Oh, I think it's the perfect song to open up with because it is a very slow burn. It's about 5.5 minutes, a little more than 5.5 minutes long, and it just slowly rises. The drums get more active as the song goes on. More instruments come in the further it gets in. The vocals get a little more active, and then it kind of culminates to this breakdown. Kind of rises, and then boom, and then you only kind of hear the drums and in distant instruments, and then it explodes into a almost kind of jazz-like frenzy.
Yeah, dude, when it opens up and the drums like finally kick in, it goes like full like Jimi Hendrix to me.
Oh, it's so good. And I really would like to hear the story of this band between these two albums.
Yeah.
I think it's a 5-year span, because I found a live video of them playing this song, but it was a completely different style.
Oh, really?
Like, it was a lot more blues. It definitely would have fit a lot better on the first album. It didn't have this slow burn upbringing. It was active the whole time. It had a lot more kind of riffs in it.
Oh man, I don't even think I would like it as much.
No, I listened to it, and usually I like that stuff better, but this one, the album version is far better, and I wonder
awesome.
What happened between that recording and this album to make them change the style so drastically.
Maybe the band mixed it and produced it. I'm not sure. There's really not a ton of information on this record because this band isn't very big.
Yeah,
they're not that well known.
I'd say they're a big Austin band.
Yeah, big Austin band, right? I remember when their drummer followed our band on Instagram, and I fucking like you got really excited, and then once you got excited, I got excited because I didn't understand.
Oh yeah, I love this drummer, man. He's got some great
awesome.
parts on both of these albums. It pained me to see that I think they replaced him in 2019.
Oh no, man! Yeah, this guy's the shit, dude.
Yeah, and
The drum. There's something about the drums on this record, like the drums and the bass guitar, the way that they're recorded and mixed and mastered and everything. This album sounds massive when those drums and bass kick in.
It sounds ethereal.
Yeah, it's
Almost.
like it seriously puts me in a really cool headspace listening to this record.
Yeah, I first off, before we get too far off it, I think regardless of who produced and mixed this album, it has fantastic production.
Amazing.
And fantastic mixing.
Top notch, dude. Like, I couldn't get over how good the production was as I was listening to the record. Like, it seriously is almost dreamy, despite how like loud and aggressive it can get, or kind of like chaotic or even dancey. The whole thing is just dreamy, dude. It is like, I don't know what setting they were picturing in their head when they were writing this, but like the California desert is like the perfect setting for me.
I mean, the photo of the album with it upside down, you know, and some humanoid looking body, and it's a pretty good picture of what this album sounds like.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the things I love the most about this album, and something I maybe wish I heard in more psychedelic type stuff, is from the first album, honestly, the bassist and the drummer don't seem to have changed too much. It seems like more changed with the guitarists and the keys. And so I love how active the drums are on this whole album, and I love how bouncy and dancey the bass can be on these songs that you wouldn't think that kind of thing would work with, but it does.
Man, the bassist is killer, dude. Jack O'Brien is an amazing bassist.
Oh, I mean, everyone in this band is fantastic.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I can't believe it's really just a 3-piece. I can't believe that.
They're a 3-piece?
Yeah, I mean,
I thought they were a 4-piece.
Well, it's saying right here on this record, Jack O'Brien, Curtis Rausch, and Joseph Mirasol are the 3 guys that are in the liner notes for this record. But I'm saying, like, Jack O'Brien does bass, vocals, the Roland, and the tambourine. Curtis does guitar, vocals, the mini moog, the Roland, the Wurlitzer, and different effects. Then the drummer does a bunch of other stuff too. So it's 3 dudes doing a whole bunch of stuff on each one of these tracks.
Man,
and
crazy.
Something like that you were saying. Something that I wish I would see on more albums in general, because there's always just a slight, like, a little thing that always like tickles me anytime I notice it, is those like seamless transitions from song to song.
Yep.
There's something about that I love, man.
It's a very little thing that can make an album so much better.
Yeah, and it almost makes it maybe it tricks my brain into seeing the album as a lot more of a composition rather than a collection of songs.
Right.
When you hear that seamless transition, it takes out the, oh, this is a single feeling, you know? And it's something, I love that so much. Something so small like that.
Yeah, like the first 3 songs go into each other seamlessly.
So good. And 3 totally different vibes, those 3 songs.
Right, yeah.
Like,
and
Slipstream is almost like a Clapton song.
It's a little more, it's got a little swing to it.
Yeah, it has some unfortunate Black Keys vibe, which, like, just my instinct is to immediately hate anything that sounds like Black Keys blues. It's just so overdone at this point, you know? And even the Black Keys have, like, jumped their own shark that I just immediately want to dislike it. But there's so much Pink Floyd mixed in with the Clapton Black Keys type stuff that I still love it. Like, fuck these guys for making me like a Black Keys sounding song.
I think Yeah, you can super hear that Pink Floyd influence
Oh
throughout
man,
this entire record, but especially on like Aperture,
yeah.
where the vocals are like very Pink Floyd-esque, and Ouroboros, I think, as well.
Dude, you get to that second half of the record, it is 90% David Gilmour and Pink Floyd. It's like, I mean, like you said, Aperture, Ouroboros, and The Moon just is a David Gilmour song. Like, have you heard the album On an Island by David Gilmour?
What's it called?
On an Island. Sorry, I know I'm
No.
It is one of my favorite records of David Gilmour. Definitely my favorite David Gilmour record, but almost like my favorite Pink Floyd record, because to me it's just an extension. It is such a vibe, and Gilmour, as you know, like has such a distinct tone to his guitar.
Yeah.
I hear that tone all over this record, but on The Moon specifically is where he sounds like David Gilmour when he's singing. And I can just hear what he's trying to do, and I love it.
And I wonder if it's a reference to Dark Side of the Moon.
Like Space is Still the Place?
I mean,
Or The Moon? You mean the title
that's
of the moon? Oh, I see.
Like,
yeah.
I wonder if it was kind of like a bit of an homage, or like, you know?
Man, I wonder. I didn't put those two together.
I could not tell you from the lyrics. Because these lyrics are very... what's a good word for it? They're very... It's not something I can grasp onto. It's very over my head, I guess.
You know, I was so, enthralled for lack of a better word, by the music. I didn't really listen to what he was saying. And I read along with some of the lyrics, and the lyrics are pretty cool, albeit very definitely like fucking, out there and unintelligible, not unintelligible, but kind of don't seem like they're really talking about anything specific. They're just kind of really spacey and trippy lyrics. But the reviews seem to think differently. Like the people that reviewed this album think that it's like talking about a lot of current social, socioeconomic, so I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Is socioeconomic a word?
It is now.
Socioeconomic? I don't think that's a word.
Socioeconomic?
Socioeconomic, thank you.
The lyrics are, I think they're very colorful. I think they sound cool. They have a lot of kind of puns and plays on words, and maybe not puns, but they put a lot of the same sounding words together, like an
inner rhyme type of thing, or
yeah, and
or just
that's cool.
You're just saying like kind of what we were giving Sheer Mag shit for, where it's like, all right, I want to write a song about being on a boat, so I'm gonna find a bunch of nautical terms.
It is very much that same deal.
Yeah.
And it might just be bias that I enjoy their version of it.
Yeah, it might be, but honestly, they do it. They pull it off, man.
And on this album, I'd say the lyrics are a lot less formative, a lot less important than the lyrics and vocals on Sheer Mag was.
Yeah, where we were saying like her vocals, she is the center point. She is the focus of attention.
Yeah.
So on this, it is clearly the music that's getting the attention. But I love the way the vocals, even though I wasn't paying much attention to what he was saying, man, the vocals are so good. He is such a good vocalist, and the way that it's mixed into the music is very much like, taking that cheesy phrase that the vocalist is the vocals are his instrument. Man, the way it's mixed into this is just another instrument in the music, and
and it works so well with this vibe. Like,
so well.
I just finished listening to the third song on the album, Dream Love.
Dude, we're like right there with each other. I'm at the end of Dream Love right now. And the
way his vocals, like the effects it has that kind of make it more airy, and it almost surrounds you in a mist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I lost my way.
Like it kind of reminds me of Tame Impala a little bit, the way they affected
Yeah, a
his
little
voice,
bit.
you know, or Washed Out. Same similar vibe, just very reverbed, very dreamy vocals. But man, that fucking Dream Love is an amazing synth song.
Oh, and I love when the drums come in on that song.
Oof. When it all builds up like 3.5 minutes in, and it's just the drums going off and the vocals and everything's crescendoing.
Yeah.
Dude, the drums on this whole record are so splashy and punchy and like not compressed at all. Like they're really letting like these cymbals sound like cymbals. Like you can hear like the wave, you know?
Because they're utilizing that tail that all the cymbals have to kind of add to the atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, it's even on the more bluesy stuff that again I just have an automatic like physical reaction to. Even then, the drums are huge and shimmery and like like reverby and it sounds like they're in a hallway, you know, and there's something so it puts you in this like trance because there's nothing trebly or pinny or tinny or anything about it. It is just these like juicy, lush cymbals throughout the whole record.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I don't know, man. It blends so well with the bouncy bass and the watery, airy guitars and synths, the spacey synths of the record.
Yeah.
It like the drums and the bass bring enough solid form to the weightless and shapeless forms of the guitars and the keys.
Wow.
And makes for this perfect like psychedelic rock record.
Dude, perfectly said, man. There's something about the drums and the bass that are just so huge. Like it seriously sounds like it would fill like a stadium. Like these songs sound like they are reverberating off the walls of a stadium, and it's so cool to hear such a huge, massive sound come from three dudes.
Oh yeah.
And man, like the drums and the bass ground this whole thing because, like you said, the vocals and the guitar are so airy and like soundscapey at times, and the drums and the bass are just again like bringing back the production. Man, the production is just of everything, but specifically the drums and the bass are incredible.
I don't know what they did with this record. I don't know what they like. I guess they went to a different studio or something, but I think the production on the first record was fantastic as well.
It was, yeah. But
I feel like the theories of how they recorded it and mixed it were very different as well.
Yeah, it's it sounds like a different band to me, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly it does. And I looked it up and I don't think any of the members changed from the first album.
No, I don't think so either.
Which is crazy. I thought at least one person would have came and one person would have left or something to steer a new direction of the band, but as far as I could see, it's the same dudes.
Yeah, it's I feel like they were tapping into other influences like in this one, and they felt inspired by the southern United States while they were touring around and seeing the desert and stuff like that. Like this is what they wrote, you know? So it's cool combining the ideas of a desert culture that has technology. That's what I hear on this record in terms of like trying to visualize the whole thing. Is like this sounds like a Western movie that has technology in it.
Right.
Like that has sci-fi level technology, like Star Trek shit, but cowboys, you know. And there's like a movie that this is also like kind of inspired by, which has the same name, called Space is the Place. It's a 1974 what they're calling an Afrofuturist science fiction movie. So like I really want to watch that movie now. And as I'm looking at it, I'm seeing other influences of like Afrofuturism on bands from Austin, like Golden Dawn Orchestra.
Yeah, right.
Their vibe is Afrofuturism, and I'm not even realizing it until looking at even the poster of this Sun Ra Space is a Place movie, and it features Sun Ra and his orchestra, which is the name of this guy's, I think the musician that's in it. So anyway, that's very little research that I've done, but I'm just like making these connections and seeing like what a cool influence this Afrofuturism thing has. But I mean, what's kind of cool about this album too is that apparently it's gotten like a ton of attention from like TV shows. Like there's
it's been on multiple TV shows, which I'm trying to think of what song they would use from this album on like Teen Wolf or
Brooklyn
Gossip Girl
Nine-Nine
or whatever. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like what when do y'all use a song like this in a show like that?
My thought is probably the more bluesy stuff, like Ghost Dance and Slipstream, you know? Like, that's what I would think. Because I've heard something that I think kind of sounds like Slipstream on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, now that I think about it. You know,
well, it might have been Slipstream.
It might have been Slipstream because it's anything that at the time would have wanted to play anything that sounded like with a lot of na-na-nas and yeah. You know, so like Vice Principals, an HBO show that I love, is hilarious. But man, I want to get into these choice nugs, man, because I'm listening to these songs like going through this album while we're talking, and there's so much I want to talk about.
Well, let's get into it, man. It was pretty easy for me to choose my nugs.
Really? It was hard for me, man.
The only reason I got into this album was because I saw a live performance of Sweet Madeline on YouTube. And their performance is so fantastic. I'm going to try to find it real quick to recommend it because they play a couple other songs. But yeah, that is my first nug, is Sweet Madeline, the first song off the album.
Yeah. Are you sending me the link right now? What's happening?
Oh, sorry. I was just looking on YouTube. It's on, it's just like a YouTube video. It's Bright Light Social Hour Live at KJHK. KJHK. If you look up Bright Light Social Hour Live, it's the first thing. Super fantastic performance. They do Sweet Madeline, Infinite Cities, Aperture, and it looks like the second song is a dash. Maybe they were jamming or something. Who knows?
Okay, cool. Wow, this is not what I thought these guys looked like.
Is it not?
No.
Just big, bearded, hippie-looking dudes?
Not what I thought they were going to look like at all.
But yeah, just the slow rise throughout the song, the drums throughout the whole thing. I always air drum when the music explodes.
Yeah.
And then he goes over to the toms. You know, it's super fun part to play. Super good song.
I love the jangly guitars. Like, that's kind of what I mean about the Western vibe that I get from this record. Very very like spaghetti Western sounding to me. I'm reading Once Upon a Time in Hollywood right now, which is Quentin Tarantino's book that he wrote for the or after the movie. And there's a part in the story where the main character is like starring in a Western. And when I was listening to this record while I was reading yesterday, and what a perfect fucking... I mean, this book takes place in 1969 Hollywood and also has like a Western happening at the same time in it. And this is the perfect album to listen to while I was reading that book, man.
And I mean, I would also say this would be probably one of the top 5 albums, like, that if I ever did some less than moral drugs, it would be to this. And like, it's good to smoke too as well. Dude,
it is such a great weed record. And Sweet Madeline, like to get back to your choice, Nug, man, like the slow burn is my favorite part about it, where the drums, like the drums kind of bust out a little bit more, like maybe a minute and a half into the song. where he starts doing a little bit more. Maybe the same thing he was doing, but a little louder. But man, when it busts out, it is so fucking awesome.
Yeah,
It gets
and also
so psych in Jimi Hendrix.
something that's emphasized a lot on this song is the harmonies, which are great throughout this album. I think they have two main singers on this record. It's hard to tell them apart. I went to Genius. Apparently, like, the verse and the chorus are sung by two different people. I didn't know that.
What?
Because they sound so
They
similar.
sound exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm still not sure I believe it, but I know from the first album that I think all the members can sing to a certain degree.
Right.
But the way the harmonies sound on this song and all the other songs on the album are fantastic, and it's one of those, like, it seems like one of those perfect pairs of dudes to sing together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Their vocals are like really complimentary of each other. I didn't know. I thought it was the same guy too. Especially there's some times where they kind of do octave things, not just like harmonies, but they do kind of octave things throughout the record, where they do the low octave and the higher octave at the same time, and it's so cool. And I just assumed it was the same guy doubled up. It's probably the two of them.
No, I mean, maybe they went to the same singing teacher. Who knows?
I'm surprised they're not brothers or something. But man, the organ at the end of Sweet Madeline too, like when the song busts out.
You know, I love me some organ.
You love you some organ, man, and I hear a little bit of tambourine throughout the whole song too.
That's
so
right. That's right.
You got those two
yes,
things
sir.
going. That's an easy choice nug for my boy Brett.
Ugh, and the way it just all, the climax of the outro,
Yeah,
where the instruments are going off and then the vocals come in, and the organ gets louder and till it's gone. Ugh.
super
Love it,
catchy, man.
Love it.
Do you hear me out? Do you also hear kind of like a 90s vibe to this song, like 90s R&B to this record in general, just on some of the songs?
A 90s R&B, like who?
Well, we'll get into it in one of my choice nugs, but which I'll say right now.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Sea of the Edge is one of my choice
The
nugs.
sea of the edge.
That melody, the na 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 sounds so 90s to me. Almost.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, something about it. And I think, like, weirdly enough, specifically 90s, like, Sting.
Well, you got me there.
This song,
that's a section of the 90s I have not delved into.
I see. Okay, yeah. This song specifically sounds like a Sting song from 1995.
A sting operation, you would say.
Yeah. Almost, maybe even possibly like Seal. It kind of reminds me of. There's something about the melody and the adult contemporary-esque sound of the guitar. Like, it sounds like an adult contemporary song with very like a little delay and very flangery, and it's just very like like it doesn't confront you at all, like it doesn't challenge you. It's very easy on the ear. So
Yes.
it reminds me of Washed Out and Tame Impala, and to me those guys are trying to bring back this like 90s kind of like adult contemporary sound and make it cool, and that's what this song sounds like to me.
Yeah.
But it's cool too because about like the first like minute and a half is totally different from the rest of the song, and then like a minute and a half in is when it really kind of busts open and becomes this like kind of Tame Impala-y song.
Yeah, I'm listening to it now, and I love the tone on the guitars.
So
It almost seems like a kind of like very quick delay, as well as like a big reverb, like really dreamy and spacey, as is their intentions, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, the guitars are like, there's definitely like a ping pong delay, like a very quick delay, and some sort of flanger chorus phaser thing going on there. that just make it so dreamy. And you can't help but bob your head to it, man. The drums just like it's.
Oh yeah, I would say of all the songs on this record, this is probably the one with the strongest vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this is the one you can vibe out to, and like you know, put on a speaker, and you and your friends are just kind of like laying down, and just like grooving.
I can. All I'm picturing is like beautiful young people around a pool, and the footage is all scratchy and has all those fake film, like weird lights,
like a film grain.
Yeah, film grain and everything, and that's all I'm picturing. Like this was the song when it got to this one on the record that I wished I was driving around the desert.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so perfect.
And it sounds like it could be a very nostalgic song.
It's melancholic or like melodramatic or something, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's got some, like you said, major vibes, man. Major vibes.
Major vibes.
Yeah. That's the first one that sounded 90s to me on the record. I was just like, wow, this sounds like a Seal song, just like modernized. What was another one of your choices?
My second nug was Infinite Cities.
Oh man, me too.
Track 8. Yeah?
Me too.
I mean, I would say this was probably their first single off the record, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it has like over 3 million plays. It's definitely the most played on the album.
Yeah, it kind of starts off with this drum beat, double riding with both hands on the hi-hat, which kind of gives it this accelerated pace immediately. The guitar's coming in. Dun, 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 dun.
Man, I love that guitar line, man. And those drums, a super punchy kick and snare.
Yeah.
Super punchy.
It's immediately very dancey.
Super
and
dancey.
There really aren't many riffs on this record, but the guitar parts, if you listen to them, are very cool, and they can be iconic. You know,
especially the way that they play with the effects that they use.
Yeah,
they do that really well on this record, and especially in Infinite Cities, he's using that delay. He's playing along with that delay, you know, and like manipulating that,
utilizing it. It's like he had the delay before he had the part.
100%, for sure. He heard that.
Like he found a pedal, and he's like, "I gotta make a riff with this."
Yeah, he heard that one, that type of thing, and he's just like, "Oh, I can write it. I can write something to that." Man, the bass is killer on this song too.
Obviously.
So good.
And I love that when the vocals come in, the drums take it back. They just kind of keep it on the kick.
Yeah, they kind of dial it back a bit during the verses.
Yeah, and then he goes, as soon as he like sings out his first elongated note, they come back in, and the bass is there. Oh, and the harmonies on that.
Beautiful harmonies. Dude, and that little like the until we call it home thing. I can't even sing it. It's like
until we coming home.
There you go. Yeah, that is such an amazing line. It like makes me wince like every time I hear it. I'm just like, ooh, like until we call it home. And that and that's another one that is very 90s R&B to me. Something about that line specifically. And it just has that. So, like again, like I see you, like you're bobbing your shoulders, like you can't help but just like dance in place listening to this song. And then it's so cool that it has those two different vibes, where the drums are going and then it opens up when he's going like until we come home, and then you have the synth that comes in that second time around. They come back to that, and then the drums start doing a kind of a weird, I don't know if it's 5/4 or something, kind of a weird rhythm during those stay parts, like in the second half of the song.
Yeah, it's definitely like I don't think it's an odd time, but I think he does do something that makes it feel like it's an odd time. Yeah,
maybe it's the fills that he's doing right there, but it definitely sounds like they're adding or taking away a beat, and I can't figure out which one it is, or if it might be neither.
It's honestly, I think the strangest part is on the kick. I was kind of like doing this, like
So
the
that's what
kick
it
might be
is.
doing like triplets or something.
Yeah.
But without the second thing in there, and the hi hat and the snare is saying the same, but it makes it feel a little off. And then
Yeah, you're
there's
right. They're
a- there's
playing
a-
4/4.
there's a moment about 2.5 minutes in or so where they kind of take it down. It gets very breezy. The guitar comes in after a while. I wouldn't say it's a solo, but it's definitely the guitar's time in the sun, where he's kind of, I don't know, he's like telling a story.
Yeah.
And then it all rises to the climax of everyone coming back in, the vocals, stay
Man.
till we're coming home. Ugh,
There's really
I love
there's
it.
something about that line, until we call it home. The way that he sings
Yeah.
that is just, it's a certain note that he hits, or a certain, combination of notes in that whole line, that is just, that alone made me love the song. When it got to that part, I was like, oh, like, I don't even know how to emotionally react to that right now.
Till we call it home.
Man, yeah. But there's still...
Oh, and then
Oh, go ahead.
like in the very last part of this song, it's like stay, and there's a harmony. He's just going up. He's like stay.
Yeah.
He's like bringing it home,
Man,
and then it gets reduced to that drum beat that started the song. It's like it's a perfect loop. I love it, man.
yeah,
It's
I
an
didn't notice
infinite song.
that. Damn, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, you could play it on repeat and you would notice.
That's interesting, because Ouroboros, the song before that, is almost like the same concept, just the term alone.
You know, there's, I wish I could understand this album better, because it seems like there are some themes, and there's a song called Sea of the Edge, and on the first album there was called like,
Yeah, there was a C something, right?
there was a sea something.
There was a C, I know.
And so I wonder if there's like a continuity. There's Ouroboros, there's Infinite Cities, there's like the Moon, which it all kind of like, I don't know, just cycles of things repeating infinitely.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a theme
Slipstream.
that no one's asked them about. Like, we know the Afrofuturism thing, we know that the Spaces That Plays was an influence and all that stuff, but there does seem to be like a larger concept
Yeah.
that, yeah, I wish there was more information about out there, because just the, like I said, like just what it does to me, the trick that it does to me in my brain when songs flow into each other, makes me think that this was all put together. And
Yeah.
this was definitely a record that I don't hear nearly often enough anymore, that I want the whole record to be put into a movie. Where for 45 minutes and 33 seconds is just a movie that is all just these, 10 songs. And that's the whole length of the movie. And I want to see that.
it would be a crazy movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the lyrics could be as deep as these guys did Acid for the first time,
Sure.
and like, they're like, oh, to see.
Yeah, they
things
transcended.
done. They transcended. They unified with the universe or whatever.
Yes.
And so I imagine the movie would be a lot like The Wall, very
Yeah.
weird, like very interesting imagery, a lot of space stuff.
I'm thinking like almost like Daft Punk's movie that they made.
Yeah, man. I wish there was more stuff like that.
Me too. It's I feel like
It's really only.
I was gonna say, I feel like the closest thing that we've gotten to that in recent years, even though I know that Sturgill actually put out an anime on Netflix for one of his latest albums.
Oh man.
But the thing that I think we've actually gotten closer to it, other than that, is Denzel and Kenny doing all their videos for Unlocked.
Yeah.
And that's really just a collection of music videos. Like King Gizzard does that, where they've released a music video for every track on 3000 Butterfly, or Butterfly 3000.
Yeah, and there's like it's been like The Wall would
Right.
probably be the first one that
The
did that.
quintessential one.
Daft Punk's Discovery, I think is what
I
it's
think that's
called.
what it was called. Yeah, really cool. Very weird.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Um.
I could see them doing a very cool Western-inspired sci-fi 45-minute long, kind of not even a narrative, you know? It's just
Yeah.
putting imagery to this music that I want to see so badly.
Yeah. It would be the opposite of like something like Lemonade by Beyonce, which was like a visual album.
Right.
Where it was the music videos and she had poems in between the videos, and it was a concept album of this, thing that Jay-Z did to her. But
So, allegedly,
an album like
we have to
this,
say allegedly.
yeah. An album, a movie that would be based off this, much like Discovery, would probably be a lot less. Like, it wouldn't be very literal to the lyrics. I don't think. Think it'd be a lot more symbolic.
For sure.
It would have kind of an original narrative that's kind of separate from whatever this album is saying.
Definitely.
Likely.
Yeah, we're picturing the exact same thing. Are we about to make a short film?
I think we gotta call up our boys at the Bright Light Studios, and I think we gotta get something together.
I wonder if I wonder if they put out a lot of stuff.
I wonder if they put out. Because I'm gonna need a little bit of that.
Now I'm wondering that.
If they want us to work with them.
Oh yeah, I mean we'll do it for free in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the contract will say free, but
Yeah,
the finer
free of money.
the liner notes,
Not free of payment.
money. Yeah.
Well, it looks like they put out 2 singles this year on a release called Enter Weed Martyr. So I'm gonna check those out for sure. But there's a couple of very, very strong honorable mentions on this record for me. I had a hard time picking my 2 choice nugs. One of the songs that gave me the hardest time was Dream Love.
Mm-hmm.
It has another like seamless transition from Slipstream to Dream Love. It is the first kind of more synth driven track on the record. It has those arpeggios that we love.
It's another song that starts off with that. It kind of starts and ends the same way. It starts with that digital like dun 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 dun, and by the end of the song, all the other music has faded out. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, then it does that really trippy.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it.
Which could have been a reverse of what they were doing between Slipstream and Dream Love.
Yeah, because that one it went ding, 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 right. Yeah, that's right. Oh man, I love how like kind of you're finding these connections here that I just didn't pick up on.
I didn't pick up on them until right now.
Oh wow, that's cool.
We're discovering.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live.
Yeah, with this song, like the vocals again, like were very kind of Tame Impala-ish, which I dig. But this was super dancey, almost disco-y, like one of the songs on their last record, but in a more 80s way, more 80s dance, like
yeah, a little more like straightforward, I guess.
Yeah.
And like you can imagine the drum part being played on like techno drums
easily, and it just has that doom 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 beat that whole time with the really nice hi-hats, and like man, right when it hits that, like it busts out like 2 minutes in. Like it takes 2 minutes for the song to start. Really.
Yeah, and with that, I love that fill. It's just like
so simple.
It's like so simple, but it's exactly what that part needed. Man.
Yeah, and then man, like 3 minutes in, like once it busts out into the super 80s synth, like new wave dance song almost, like I just wish I was driving like a white Lamborghini Countach with like a pound of coke. And just like wish I was just flying down the highway with just neon lights all flying around me while I'm just like tweaking. Because like right around 3 minutes, man, the guitar, the synth, the drums, and the vocals are all like crescendoing to this like goosebumps inducing like climax.
Yeah.
It's so
and
fun.
the whole time the vocals are there, and just boosting the song up even more.
Dude, yeah, you have that Knight Rider kind of 80s synth. It's so fun to listen to. Weirdly enough, man, I said this on their last record, and I thought it again listening to this one, especially on Dream Love, which is, again, the weirdest connection that I've made to Sturgill. But Sturgill Simpson and these guys have some weird similarities, and this song sounds like it could be on a Sturgill record. Obviously, with
I haven't listened to nearly enough Sturgill.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, when you get into Sturgill's like later stuff, he's been really doing some really cool shit. I mean, even like Shooter Jennings had a whole 80s record that he was trying to bring back, like this 80s kind of dance wave stuff that is very similar to Dream Love. But I'll tell you, the other song that was really hard for me not to pick as a choice snug was Aperture.
Aperture. Yeah, that it's another one of the more energetic songs.
Mm-hmm. The drums
with that drum beat.
Mm-hmm. The fucking
and the bass kind of like boom,
yeah,
or whatever they're doing.
He almost made it sound like an 80s theme song to a show, but hey, we're just two guys that shouldn't live together. But the David Gilmour guitar tones on this whole song on Aperture,
and the vocals are very like they would harmonize their vocals in Pink Floyd.
Yep.
This seems reminiscent of that.
And the ones like, that David Gilmour
sang
specifically.
Song. Yes. Yeah. And there's a specific song I'm thinking of by Pink Floyd that I just can't. It's on the edge of my tongue right now, but it's what these vocals remind me so much of.
Maybe like Comfortably Numb. Us versus them.
Oh,
or
I
us
think
and them.
Something like Time.
Possibly.
Well,
it reminds me more of Gilmour's solo stuff. Right. But man, it's cool because like the verses are really cool with what the drums and the bass are doing to the verses. A little more kind of like, even though the drums are going it's a little kind of, it's energetic, but it's pulled back. But when the choruses quote unquote happen, and man, the drums start hitting the ride, and the bass is fuzzy and starts like really busting out, and then you have that simple guitar line, like it opens up and it gets so huge. And I put galactic on here, and I didn't even like think about that in the context of spaces, the place, and everything. It's like they really got me, man. They nailed the idea of this record.
Yeah, really I mean to call back to what you're saying near the beginning of us talking about this album, like it's a very cohesive record with a very definitive theme that they absolutely nail on every single song.
Nailed it. And this one, just a small another detail, the ending of the song, maybe 3 minutes in, the song completely like slows down.
Yeah, it like switches up.
They go half speed for the rest of the song, and it almost sounds like something about the guitar and the way he's singing. It almost sounds like the best Beatles song that they never wrote. Like a better Beatles song than the Beatles could write, because he has such a Don Henley feel to his voice there.
Yeah, it's like the second half has a bit more of a bluesy vibe to it.
A similar vibe to like what Band of Horses does sometimes.
Yes. For
sure.
Also another I believe those are Austin locals as well. Right?
Band of Horses, man, I want to say they're from Seattle.
I could be wrong about that.
I want to say Band of Horses are from Seattle.
I'm gonna look that up to make sure.
They are. Yeah,
totally. I totally see like The Funeral.
Yes.
And Cigarettes and Wedding Bands.
100%. And the vocals are very similar, right? The vocal styles.
Okay. Band of Horses is from Seattle, Washington.
Yes, they're from Seattle.
But I remember seeing them on ACL headlines a couple times.
It's like you see a band play in Austin, and you're like, oh, these guys must be local.
I was like, well, they must be from Austin. It's Austin City
Slayer.
Limits.
Oh, how did I never hear these guys here? And they're playing the Frank Irwin Center. Good for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aperture and Dream Love, and I mean, fuck it, man. Ouroboros, The Moon, Escape Velocity is an amazing outro or like ending song, and I'm really upset that wasn't one of your choice, Nugs, because I wanted to talk about it.
I mean, I liked Escape Velocity. I feel like at the end they could have put just a little bit more in there to give it as climactic an end as their first record.
And that ending of the first record, was that the Rhubarb Jam?
I believe so,
Yeah,
yes.
I think it was.
And they do, they definitely, they didn't half-bake the ending of this record in this song.
That's it.
They definitely have a lot of stuff going on. The drummer's just going off. The guitarist is having the time of his life.
Yeah.
The bassist is going all over the place.
Right off the bat, I'm loving the energy. The do 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 do. Like I can already hear where it's gonna go, and that weird, glitchy, like Game Boy percussion stuff. Like,
Yeah. And you know what I'm noticing now is that there's a lot of songs on here that switch up halfway through.
Yeah, man. And I love that.
Like Sweet Madeline, Aperture, Escape Velocity,
Dream Love, like if you want to think about, where like Dream Love, the first 2 minutes is not the same song. Sea of the Edge, same thing. Like a minute and a half in is when it changes,
Yeah, I'm only just noticing how often that happens, but it definitely did not. I don't think it's a thing that got old. Like them doing this switch up midway through the songs, because it sounds so natural.
It sounds very inspired. This whole record.
Yeah. God, man, I'm having a hard time thinking of what I'm gonna rate this thing, because it's really hard to find any faults with it.
Well, I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead, set the stage, bud.
Because there is only one fault that I can find on this record, and it's the very few handful of moments that sound like every other blues rock band for the last 15 years that has just been simply trying to recreate Black Keys' sound, which is just recreating a whole bunch of other old blues guitars, So, but I'm saying that's the only thing and that is such a personal bias that I have against that stuff, and that's literally the only thing I can fault on this record. And there's only the only songs that it really bothered me that I couldn't really get that into it were Ghost Dance. It was Ghost Dance, really. That's it. Even Slip.
That one starts with
Yeah, because it's not just the. It's also the singing along with it. It sounds like every Jack Daniel's maple, whiskey commercial that I've seen in the last 20 years.
Every Austin band is allowed at least one of those types of songs on every record,
and
sir.
it's the Dan Auerbach or whatever playbook, and it got old real quick with me. So that's the only thing I don't like. That's the only thing I don't like, and that happens maybe twice on the whole record. So, dude, this is like one of my. I've been hearing a lot of really good music lately. Thankfully, I've been picking some good like random albums to just check out and have been really, really enjoying. And this is right up there with some of the best stuff I've been listening to in the last couple months. I was originally going to give this. Were you about to ask me something?
No.
Okay. I was originally going to give this an 8.0. And it happens a lot where once we talk about it for an hour, all of a sudden I think
we kind of get each other hyped
Exactly. And listening to it while we're talking about it is the most fun that I have doing this podcast, so I am gonna bump that up, my dude, to a 9.0.
Well, all right, a whole point.
This album
Well,
is just it tickles every fancy that I have when I'm looking for a good psych rock record.
man, and I wanna emphasize to people out there that Lucas listened to 365 albums last year, one every single day, and he only gave 12 albums a 9 or
Yeah.
above. So that is no small feat.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. The first album surprised me, but I didn't like it as much as this one. I think I gave it a 7 point something.
Yeah, I think it was around the 6 and 7 range.
This album really surprised me. I didn't expect it, and it was one of the moments that I thought, how have I not heard this before? Like, how did this not get recommended to me years ago? The fact that I didn't see this on like best of 2015 lists like all over the place is just, it's a crime against this band.
Honestly, man, and it seems like they're doing well enough for themselves. I think they're like producing a lot of other bands, or they're hosting a lot of other bands or something. I don't know. But they're always a big deal when they're playing in Austin. But yeah, man, I've always been a huge fan of these guys. I've always been trying to get people into them.
I am now a Bright Light Social Hour advocate, especially after this album.
Yeah, baby.
You have converted me.
And I think they released 1 or 2 EPs or albums in the last year or the last 2 or 3 years, and I haven't listened to those yet, and I'm excited to, because I'm wondering if they're gonna switch it up again.
Yeah, they came out with a single in 2019 called Sun King, and it looks like they came out with another couple of singles this year, 2022. So
Yeah, so they're active.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious to see what they've done. Honestly, random note too. I didn't know that they use one of their songs, "Harder Out Here," which I don't know what album that's off of. But they use it as the intro for the show The Sneaky Pete on Amazon Prime.
I'm sorry, what was the show called?
Sneaky Pete.
Sneaky Pete.
With Giovanni Ribisi. And it's supposed to be a good show, but they use one of their bluesy tracks for the intro. Yeah, another random fact.
Yeah, well, it's... God, man, like, I was originally thinking around the 8 range as well, until this last listen I had in earbuds. In my
in the
earbuds.
studio.
And just, God, man, the production on this thing is top notch.
Incredible.
The theme of the whole album, the vibe of it, it's so cohesive, and every song is different enough that you can tell it's from the same album, but you won't get the songs mixed up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would say, yeah, man, totally agree. There's such a cohesive, like we were saying, you know, we've said so many times, like a cohesive sound throughout the whole record, but no song sounds like the other.
Yeah. And God, like I'm just trying to, like, cuz I'm sure there are a good amount of people out there who would give this album a 10. I think for sure.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like I said with Ultra Mega OK, I'm like, this album deserves to be someone's 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. I feel like if every listener we have listens to this album, I feel like at least one of them will really love this thing. And so it's hard. I'm trying to find, like, I do wish, just personally, that there was a little more organ and maybe a little more, like, distorted guitar in there.
A little more rockin'.
But those are such nitpicks that I feel bad even bringing it up. But I'm gonna give this thing, like, I'm thinking like a 9.6 or a 9.7. Just because, like, it's such a good listen. It's 45 minutes long, which is not something that you really feel while listening.
Yeah, it's not 45 minutes short.
But it's just such a solid listen all the way through. You feel like you got to listen to the full album. And it's, I don't know, man. Like, it's really hard to think of anything wrong with it.
Yeah, it's some of the easiest 45 minutes I've had to listen to. No doubt.
So I highly recommend this record. And yeah, just thank you all for listening to me kind of spout out about it for an hour.
So you gave it a 9.6.
I'm saying a 9.6 or a 9.65, depending on how strict everyone is on the grading scale.
Well, you know how not strict I am, so you can get away with anything.
I'm saying 9.65, baby.
Damn. That's yeah, man. I shot up from an 8 to a 9 over the course of an hour. You know, listening to this album just one more time. All it took was one more time through it for me to realize the fucking, dare I say, genius of that went into the writing of this record.
I mean, it's fantastic,
Dude.
man. The only thing I wish is that more people knew about these
Yeah,
guys.
definitely. I hope we are helping spread the word. Everyone listening, thank you for listening. Buddies, like, please listen to this record. Recommend this record to anyone that you know that might like psychedelic rock or be into Pink Floyd even, or into the Eagles, or into Black Keys. I feel like there's a lot to offer here. I was playing this yesterday at some point while hanging out with Christina, and even she kind of perked up a couple times, you know?
Yeah, it's a super accessible record.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, thanks for listening, buds. Check us out on Instagram at EBPcast. Look at us up on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or whatever you're listening to us on right now. You can find me on Instagram at Jean-Luc Guitard. You can find Brett on Instagram at Brett Hanrahan with like 16 V's or something. A couple of underscores I think are in there as well.
Couple numbers, but I'm not telling
And
you.
buddies, you might have heard it on a previous episode, but we are going to try and put the word out even more. We are doing Friday live streams on Twitch now. Did you know about this, Brett?
That's right. I heard about it. I heard rumors of an Ears Buds podcast on Twitch, but
Yeah.
I tried to find the channel. It said it was deactivated.
Yeah. It was the Ears Buds podcast at first because some of us have sausage fingers. Some of us have greasy Jimmy Deans for fingers.
Those are better for playing drums anyway.
Keep your greasy Jimmy Deans off the keyboard. But watch us on Twitch every Friday at 5 p.m. Central. We're going to be going live on Twitch, and we're going to be live streaming a listening party for a new record that comes out that day. We're going to be playing it on our live stream.
That's right.
And we're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be breaking it down, and we're going to have first live reactions. We're going to talk to you guys in the chat. So join us on Fridays. I think it's going to be really fun, and we're starting, not people are going to hear this in a few weeks from now, but we're starting this Friday, man, and I'm excited.
Yeah, and we're just so excited to do this thing. We came up with the concept about a week ago, and we're just trying to get it out the door as fast as possible. So that just means that the more weeks go on, the more the better it's gonna get. We're gonna get more designs for the stream. It's gonna look a lot cleaner as time goes on. We might actually figure out how to properly do the stream after a while.
we're really duct taping this thing together. For now,
boy. It's like watching two monkeys punch a typewriter.
Yeah, but man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to mix in some new records with the stuff that we're talking about. Make it timely. Talk about something that literally is coming out that day. We can't do that with this podcast, so that's really fun.
Getting first impressions, first reactions, talking on a song by song basis and then a general, and we're also going to be having short versions of the Twitch streams as podcast episodes, as little mini podcast episodes.
Yes.
So even if you don't want to check out the stream, even if you can't stick for the entire stream, you can check out what we think of the album in general on the podcast, where you're going to find this episode.
Yep, we'll be releasing mini episodes. We haven't figured out what day, but it's probably going to be either 1 or 2 days after the live stream.
As soon as we can,
really. And they'll be called shorties. So look out for some shorties from Earbuds Podcast. And Brett also had the great idea to take the live streams and edit them down to where we cut out all the music because we don't want to get sued on YouTube. But we're going to cut out all the parts where we listen to the music and keep in all the parts that we're talking and put those on our YouTube channel. So even if you can't catch the live stream, you're going to get this content one way or another, either in a mini episode or on our YouTube. You just won't be able to hear the music if you're not on the live stream. So keep that in mind. Fridays, 5 p.m. Central. Come check us out. Earbuds Podcast on Twitch.
But yeah, man, there are a lot of cool albums coming out now.
Really excited.
I guess people thinking it's the end of the pandemic, we're starting to put out music again.
Yep, and we'll see how long that lasts. So, Brett, what would you rate this episode, my man?
You know what? I'd rate this episode a 9.75.
Dang,
man.
All right. I was gonna rate it a 9.65. I don't know how I got that number in my head, but yeah, I'm gonna say 9.65. I don't think it went as well as you think it will. You think it went.
All right. Well, I'll meet you halfway, and I'll do 9.7.
I'm comfortable with that. I'm gonna bump up to a 9.7 now, just because you did that. Right. That's all it really took.
It was really more about me.
Yeah, a little understanding, a little patience from you would be nice every now and then.
Yeah. Well, as a treat, just because you've been such a good boy.
Thank you so much. Well, I wanted to also say what my pick is for the next episode that we're going to be talking.
And what is that? I do not know.
I've been wanting to check out more of this guy's stuff, so I checked out one of his records last year, and I really loved it. So we're going to listen to an album called Malibu by
Anderson .Paak, baby.
You got it.
I've been excited to listen to it.
Yeah, me too, man. I've only heard a couple songs, and I really love everything about this guy. So next episode, we'll be talking everything Malibu by Anderson .Paak. So check us out on the next episode, and thanks again for listening, buddies.
Thank you all.
Brett?
And 3, and 2, and a 1.
Brett? This was good.
Lucas, this is
good.
good.
And a 3, and a 2, and a 1.